She was about to give birth in the cold, sterile hallway of a Chicago hospital, contractions tearing through her body like razor blades. But nothing, absolutely nothing, hurt more than discovering that the attending physician was him, her ex-husband, the father of the baby coming into the world, the man who had abandoned her pregnant and alone. Months earlier, when Elise's eyes found the white coat with the embroidered name, Dr. Harry Morrison, she knew fate had prepared the cruelest of ironies for her. What happened in that delivery room would forever change the destiny of 3 lives: hers, his, and the baby she was bringing into the world through tears, pain, and an impossible promise to start over. The corridor of Chicago General Hospital seemed to shrink with each meter the gurney advanced toward the obstetrics ward. Elise gripped the railings so tightly she felt her own fingers might break as contractions pounded her belly like furious waves against a cliff. Sweat ran down her forehead, mixing with tears she had been trying to hold back for months. At 28 years old, she never imagined being there. Alone, abandoned, about to bring a child into the world whose father had vanished from her life like smoke carried by the wind. "I'm not ready for this, Elise." Harry's words echoed in her memory like a death sentence. "A child will destroy everything I've built. You don't understand the pressure I have at the hospital, the plans I made for my career." She had held the pregnancy test with trembling hands, those 2 pink lines shining like a promise of happiness that transformed into the worst nightmare within seconds. Harry looked at that piece of plastic as if it were a bomb about to explode. "Can you take care of it?" he said without meeting her eyes. "Take care of it?" Her voice was a broken whisper. "You're talking about our child?" "It's a mistake, Elise. An accident, not a child." Those words pierced her deeper than any blade. She left their elegant apartment in Lincoln Park, carrying only a suitcase and a shattered heart. 6 months later, she had returned to Cedar Falls, Iowa, to live with her Aunt Nina in a modest house that smelled of cinnamon and morning glory flowers. She had abandoned her job as marketing coordinator, given up her dream of getting an MBA abroad. "Breathe, dear, we're almost there." The nurse's voice brought her back to the present. Elise tried to focus on her breathing, as she had learned in the childbirth preparation class she attended alone. The double doors of the delivery room opened with a pneumatic hiss. The cold, clinical light blinded her for a moment. "Let's get her positioned now," said a deep male voice from the back. When she finally managed to open her eyes, time stopped. There, standing next to the surgical table, was him, Dr. Harry Morrison, her ex-husband, the father of the baby, the man who had left her broken and alone. His surgical mask hung from his neck, revealing the face she knew better than anyone. On his white coat, embroidered in blue, was his name: Dr. Harry Morrison, Obstetrics and Gynecology. The air escaped from her lungs. "No." The moan came out like a desperate plea. "No, please, no." Harry froze. Their eyes met in unbearable silence. "Elise?" His voice sounded rough, as if he hadn't spoken in years. "Get him out of here," she screamed to the nurse. "Please, get him out." I can't. Another contraction brought her down onto the gurney. Tears streamed down her face, mixing physical pain with the humiliation of seeing him there. "Miss Carter, I need you to calm down," he said, using that professional tone she knew all too well. "I'm the attending obstetrician, and I need to examine you." "Don't touch me." The roar came from the deepest part of her wound. "You have no right to touch me." The nurse, a gray-haired woman with a kind face, looked between the two without knowing what to do. "Doctor, perhaps it would be better to call Dr. Stevens." "Dr. Stevens is in surgery," Harry replied, not taking his eyes off Elise. "And this woman is already in advanced labor. There's no time to change doctors." "Please," she whispered with a broken voice. "Please don't do this to me." Harry stopped just centimeters from the gurney. For an instant, the professional mask seemed to slip, revealing a glimpse of pain in his dark eyes. "Elise," he murmured in a voice so low that only she could hear. I know you hate me and you have every right to, but now there's a life at stake, and I swear on my honor as a doctor that I won't let anything happen to either of you. Either of you? The word came out of her mouth like a slap. You and our child. Elise felt the world collapse for the second time in 6 months. There he was, the man who had denied paternity, who called their child a mistake, now speaking of our child as if he had never shattered her heart. A new contraction shook her, more brutal, and this time she couldn't contain the scream that tore at her throat. The baby was coming. Doctor, Nurse Linda Patterson broke the silence with concern in her voice. The baby's heart rate is accelerated. The words fell like a gunshot. Harry reacted instantly, analyzing the green waves on the screen with the precision of someone who had saved hundreds of lives. The frequency is at 180 beats per minute, he murmured. Elise, I need to examine you now. The baby is showing signs of distress. She looked at him with eyes full of tears and fury, but another contraction hit her like a storm. Do what you have to do, she whispered through gritted teeth. Harry moved with the skill of the specialist he was born to be. His hands, which once knew every corner of her body with tenderness, now touched her with the clinical coldness of medicine. 7 centimeters dilation, he announced. Still a few hours to go. He looked at her directly. Elise, I know this isn't the time or place, but I need you to trust me. I'm one of the best obstetricians in the state. I'm not going to let anything happen to either of you. Don't say either, she replied with a broken voice. You made it very clear that there was only one person in your equation. Harry lowered his gaze. When he raised it again, there was a vulnerability in his eyes that Elise had never seen. You're right, he said barely audibly. I was a coward, a complete fool. But that doesn't change the fact that now there's a life that needs to be born safely. Dr. Harrison entered the room with rigid authority. At 58 years old, the clinical director had perfectly combed gray hair and gray eyes that analyzed every situation like a cold equation. Dr. Morrison, his voice filled the room, I need to speak with you now. Harry didn't move from beside Elise's gurney. I'm in the middle of a complicated delivery, doctor. Can it wait? No, it can't. Harrison approached. I just found out that you have a personal connection with the patient. That's a direct violation of ethical protocol. It was, Harry corrected without taking his eyes off the monitor. It was. That doesn't change the fact that you can't continue in charge of this delivery. No. Elise's voice cut through the air like a knife. Everyone turned to her, surprised. You're not going to move me around like I'm an object, Elise said. Your protocols don't feel contractions. Your protocols don't have a baby wanting to be born now. And your protocols aren't going to decide who brings my child into the world. Ma'am, you don't understand the complexity. I understand perfectly. Elise tried to sit up, ignoring the stabbing pain. I understand that you're more worried about regulations than about my life and my child's. Harry watched with a mixture of pride and anguish. That was the Elise he had loved. Strong, determined, impossible to bend. Linda checked the monitors and her face tensed. The frequency is at 200 beats per minute. That's not normal. The tension increased suddenly. Harrison looked at the screens, then at Harry. How much longer will Dr. Stevens take? Harry asked. At least 2 hours, Harrison answered reluctantly. This baby won't wait 2 hours. Harry leaned toward Elise. I need to do an emergency cesarean. The baby is suffering. Fear shone in her eyes. Cesarean? But I wanted a natural birth. I know. He extended his hand, stopping inches from hers. I know you dreamed of something different, but now we need to do what's right for your child. It's going to hurt. You won't feel anything. We'll use local anesthesia. He paused. And I'll be with you the whole time. Dr. Morrison, I can't allow... Harrison began. Then fire me, Harry interrupted, his voice like steel. Sue me. Take away my license if you want, but I'm not leaving here until I make sure my child is born safely." "Your child?" Harrison repeated, surprised. "My child," Harry confirmed, looking at Elise. "The child I abandoned out of fear, cowardice, for being too stubborn to understand what I was losing." Tears ran down Elise's cheeks. They weren't from physical pain. They were tears from 6 months of loneliness, of nights hugging her belly in silence. After an eternal silence, Harrison sighed deeply. "May God forgive me," he murmured. "Do what you must, Dr. Morrison, but this will have consequences." "I know," Harry replied, already focused on the surgery, "and I'm ready to face them." The baby's first cry burst into the room like a melody of redemption. Elise broke into tears when Harry lifted the newborn, a small, perfect boy with powerful lungs announcing his arrival to the world. "It's a boy," Harry said with a trembling voice. "A beautiful, perfect boy." When Elise held her son for the first time, the world made sense again. Alfie, the name she had decided months ago, alone, had his father's dark eyes and a tiny expression that already hinted at his own character. "Hello, Alfie," she whispered, gently caressing his face. "Mommy waited so long for you." Harry watched the scene with a mixture of amazement and deep pain. "Alfie," he repeated in a low voice. "You chose that name." "I chose it alone," she replied without taking her eyes off the baby. "Like I chose everything. Alone." Harry lowered his head, and when he raised it again, there were tears in his eyes. "Elise, I need to tell you something I never told anyone." Harrison started to interrupt, but Elise's voice was firm. "I want to hear it now. I want to understand how someone can give life and then give up." Harry sat next to the bed, his eyes fixed on the baby sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms. "When I was 5 years old," he began with a grave voice, "my mother got pregnant again. I was excited, ready to have a brother. My father was also a doctor, an obstetrician like me. He said it would be the most important delivery of his life." Elise raised her eyes, feeling that those words carried enormous weight. Something went wrong. A rare, unpredictable complication. He did everything he could, but Harry rubbed his hair. "My brother died, and my mother too." "Harry," Elise murmured, beginning to understand. "My father never forgave himself. He spent the rest of his life blaming medicine, himself, God. He was never the same again." "I grew up watching my father fall apart," Harry continued. "Every time he looked at me, he saw the memory of what he had lost." "That's why you chose obstetrics," Elise deduced, "to repair what he couldn't." He looked directly into her eyes. "But when I saw the pregnancy test in your hands, I suddenly became that 5-year-old boy again, terrified of losing everything." "So you decided to lose before it happened," she concluded, with a mixture of understanding and pain. "I thought if I didn't get involved, if I didn't care, it wouldn't hurt if something went wrong." He touched Alfie's tiny hand with a trembling finger. "But it went wrong anyway, because even though I denied it, I already loved both of you. Then why didn't you come back? Why did you let me face everything alone?" "Because I'm a coward," he replied without embellishment. "Because I preferred to run from my fear rather than face it." Alfie moved in his mother's arms, making a little sound that sounded like a sigh. Harry smiled through tears, a gesture Elise hadn't seen in months. "He's perfect," he murmured, caressing the baby's face. "Exactly as I imagined." 3 days later, Harry entered carrying a brown leather folder and wearing civilian clothes. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. "How are you both today?" he asked, maintaining some distance. "Better." Elise adjusted Alfie in her lap. "The doctor said they'll discharge me tomorrow." "Where will you go?" "Home. To Cedar Falls." She looked at him with defiance. "To the life I built without you." Harry nodded as if he already expected that answer. He sat with hands intertwined over the folder. "Elise, I need to talk to you about something important." About Alfie's future. His future is already decided. Her voice was firm. He's going to grow up in a home full of love, with a mother who will never abandon him. In Cedar Falls, he said calmly, where the nearest hospital is 2 hours away, where there are no specialized pediatricians, where your job opportunities are limited. A chill ran down her spine. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you an alternative. Harry opened the folder and took out some documents. Something that can give Alfie the best opportunities. And you too. I don't want your money, she replied quickly. It's not about money. He handed her a sheet. It's about a job proposal. What kind of proposal? Coordination of the new support program for pregnant women in vulnerable situations at Chicago General Hospital. Harry spoke slowly. It's a project I designed 2 years ago, but it never got started because I couldn't find the right person to lead it. And you think I'm that person? I think you're the only right person. He leaned forward. You lived firsthand what it means to be pregnant and vulnerable. You know what it's like to feel fear, to make decisions alone. That experience, along with your training in marketing and coordination, makes you perfect for the position. This is an attempt to buy my forgiveness. It's an attempt to do the right thing. His voice hardened. The program will offer psychological, financial, and medical support to women in your same situation. There will be temporary apartments, daycare so they can work, training courses, complete medical care. Despite herself, Elise felt genuine interest. And what would be my exact function? General coordination, team selection, protocol development, press relations, fundraising. He paused. Starting salary of $85,000 annually with full benefits, apartment in the hospital's residential complex, and free daycare for Alfie. Elise blinked several times. It was almost 3 times more than what she could earn in Cedar Falls. And what would be your role in all this? Medical supervision, nothing more. He looked at her directly. I know you don't trust me, but this isn't about us. It's about giving other women what you didn't have. Would there be any personal commitment? None. The answer was quick and firm. It would be a strictly professional relationship. You would report to the hospital's administrative board, not to me. And if I decide I don't want you to get close to Alfie? The blow was hard, but Harry didn't change his expression. I'll respect your decision. I just hope that one day you'll let me show that I can be a better father than I was a partner. I need to think about it, she said finally. Of course. Harry got up, leaving the papers on the table. There's no rush. The program only starts when you're ready. And if I say no? He stopped at the door. Then there won't be a program because there really isn't anyone more qualified than you. 6 months later, Elise looked at herself in the mirror of her functional apartment, adjusting the navy blue blazer. The HOPE program, as they had named it, was working better than expected, and she had become its public face. Alfie crawled around the spacious apartment, exploring every corner with the curiosity of a 9-month-old child. He was growing healthy and strong, with dark eyes increasingly similar to his father's. The program had already attended to more than 200 women since its opening. Elise had found herself professionally again. She spoke at medical conferences, gave interviews to national newspapers, managed resources with influential business people. In the hospital corridors, they treated her with respect and admiration. Dr. Elise, they called her, though she didn't have a medical degree. And Harry had kept his word. They met regularly at HOPE program meetings, always with other people present, always focused on work. When Alfie was at daycare and cried for some reason, Harry appeared discreetly to help, but only when Elise wasn't available. It was a careful dance of closeness and distance that worked better than she ever imagined. That particular morning, Elise had a crucial meeting. The program had been selected to receive an international delegation of doctors and hospital managers interested in replicating the initiative in other countries. Upon arriving at the Chicago General Hospital conference room, she found everything ready. Dr. Harrison approached with a smile very different from the coldness shown months before. "Dr. Elise," he said, "the guests are impressed with the numbers you presented. 15% reduction in maternal mortality, 23% increase in prenatal care attendance. The merit belongs to the entire team," she replied diplomatically. Her attention drifted when she saw Harry enter. He wore a dark suit and carried the same confident bearing she remembered. Their gazes met for a few seconds across the room. He raised his hand in a discreet greeting. She responded the same way. That's how it worked between them now. Courteous, professional, respectful. The presentation went flawlessly. For 45 minutes, Elise spoke about methodology, results, obstacles overcome, and future plans. The numbers impressed, but what moved the audience were the video testimonials from the women who benefited. While Harry conversed with the international guests, Elise observed him. He spoke with passion and knowledge, but always deflected praise toward her. "The true visionary behind the success is Dr. Elise," he would say. "I only provided the medical structure. She created the soul of the project." It was strange to hear the same man who had once underestimated her now publicly recognize her capability. Even stranger was realizing that recognition meant more to her than she wanted to admit. After the presentation, as the delegation members mingled and discussed implementation details, Harry approached her near the window overlooking the hospital garden. "Congratulations," he said simply. "What you built here is extraordinary." "What we built," she corrected automatically, then caught herself. Harry smiled, a real smile, not the professional one he used with guests. "Thank you for saying that." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Alfie through the daycare window as he played with other children. At 9 months old, he was already showing signs of his father's determination and his mother's resilience. "He's incredible," Harry said softly. "You've done an amazing job raising him." "We both did," Elise found herself saying, "in different ways." For the first time in almost 2 years, she looked at Harry Morrison not as the man who had abandoned her, but as the father who had found the courage to stay, professionally, respectfully, but unmistakably present in their son's life. "Maybe," she said carefully, "it's time we talked about what comes next." Harry turned to her, hope flickering in his dark eyes. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Elise took a deep breath, "maybe it's time to stop dancing around each other and start figuring out how to be the family Alfie deserves. Not the family we were, but the family we could become." Outside the window, their son laughed as he played, unaware that his parents were finally ready to write a new chapter, one built not on the ashes of old love, but on the foundation of shared purpose, mutual respect, and the incredible little boy who had brought them back together in the most unexpected way. The story that began with abandonment and fear had transformed into something neither of them had expected, a second chance at building something real, something lasting, something worthy of the miracle they had created together. What did you think of this incredible story of second chances and redemption? Have you ever experienced a moment when life gave you an unexpected opportunity to make things right? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this story if it touched your heart. Subscribe for more amazing true stories that will restore your faith in love and family. Comment. What would you have done in Elise's situation? Would you have given Harry a second chance? Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest heartwarming stories. Share this story with someone who believes in the power of redemption and second chances.